and jump into the topic at hand. So we're going to be talking about how to run a podcast without hosting one. And we're going to be really dialing in on the concept of what if I just never did host a podcast? What if I just focused on being a guest on shows? It's a solid strategy, and it's one that honestly, just between you, me, and the doorpost here, it was something I avoided. I used to think, oh, if you want to be successful at podcasting, don't worry about being a guest on the shows. Be host your own show. You got a controlled environment. You control who gets in. You control what they see and hear. It's like the intro to that show, Outer Limits. We control what you see and hear. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe I get into my 40s and I'm just like, I don't want to have to do all the heavy lifting, even if I've got a team doing the work for me. I just want to get out there and be a guest on shows and meet some cool people and not like siphon people away from their audiences, but there's plenty of time and attention to go around. And if one of them wants to come closer and say, I think you're pretty cool, I think I want to find out more, that's awesome. It's a much lighter lift. And so, what I share with people these days is if one of the hesitations to getting into the podcasting space is the thought of, I'm not really sure I want to host a show. Don't worry about it. Okay. Because what I'm going to talk about here in a little bit may eliminate that mental weight of just having to pull the trigger on starting a show. Okay. So it is a solid business strategy. And what really clinched it for me doesn't have anything to do with podcasting. It has everything to do with clarity, which we all should have in business if we're being honest with ourselves. So clarity, it comes in three different flavors. It's the clarity of your offer. We should be abundantly clear on an offer, one offer that we go to market with. That if we're going to dump our time, attention, love, energy, chutzpah into it, it should go into that one offer. Every funnel we build, every piece of content we make, every mailing list that we set up, there's a chance that we're going to be eventually talking about this one particular offer. We should be super duper clear on what results people get, not what we help people get, but what we actually get for people. What is the result? We should be clear on the price. We should be clear on what all it includes, everything. Like you should be able to walk up to somebody cold and say, hey, I know you don't know me, but I got to tell you about this offer I got, right? And just be super clear, unapologetic. They may say no. I mean, Dr. Donna probably would be like, well, she can sell to anybody, but they may say no, and that's okay. But at least the fact that you feel confident that you have a mission, you can serve people with this offer, be that clear on it. Okay. The second form of clarity is the clarity on the path to get people to the offer. If you've got an amaze balls offer, but people have to jump through hoops, jump over hurdles, sacrifice a goat, go on a journey to get to the offer, they're going to say no. They'll be like, this is too much work for even me to find out about this thing. I'm just going to go over to the other person who has a similar offer maybe, but it's easier for me to get into, and they're going to execute there. I'm a big fan of automation. I'm a big fan of funnels. I'm a big fan of landing pages. I'm a big fan of once somebody's on this page, how do I convert them into a lead? How do I get them to consume the information that I brought them here to consume, and then click a button and put in their name and email? That's all I need. I can go from there. But how do I get them? What's that pathway to get there? The the clarity of that path is going to have a lot to do with the effectiveness of your conversion strategy. It's sales, it's marketing. If you get people to a page, like, is it just one page? Is it 17 steps? Is it big crazy? The less complex that path is, it should be as simple as, here's point A, I want to get them to point B, and then click the button and I'll take it from there. Really, really clear. And too often what I find in a lot of people's approach to business, and I've seen this as my own approach, like I'm my own worst example, is when all that complexity is added, it really is because we're trying to avoid that uncomfortable sales conversation. Dr. Donna's smiling because she's like, yes, preach. I would procrastinate. Actually, I would precrastinate. I would make work for myself to do that would be like, this is really engaging stuff. I'm getting fat dopamine hits on the regular, bud, but it wasn't actually moving the needle in my business because I was trying to push that. I'm gonna have to eventually ask him to buy my thing, and I don't. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not. It's like, well, because I'm not clear on my own offer, and then because I'm not clear on my own offer, I'm not clear on the pipeline to get people to see the offer. And then the third bit of clarity is the clarity of the network that you keep close to you. So when I dug in and said, okay, what kind of people do I need to have close to me? And I'll just look at Facebook, for example. The kind of people that I need close to me are ones that honestly that just engage on my content first and foremost. If we've been connected for, 5 years or whatever, and they haven't even dropped a like on my post in the last year, do they need to even be in there? Probably not, right? If they're not even willing to if they're not seeing my content and I'm posting all the time, and if they're still not seeing it, the algorithm is like, this person doesn't like the kind of stuff, we're not even gonna show it to them. Okay, that's fine. It's no harm, no foul. Let's remove them. But if they are seeing my stuff and they're not reacting and they're not even hitting the like button or long pressing to leave a heart, right? Then it's like, well, that they probably don't need to be in there, right? So as I cultivate my network with people that are resonating with the content that I'm creating, that's a good indicator that they're probably the right people. If I'm focused on writing about stuff that's pertinent to my offer, if I, for example, am focused on writing about what does it take to be a guest on a show? What's a good strategy? How do you build lead magnets to attract people after you've been a guest on the show? All the stuff that I'm writing about. And as people are resonating with that, those are the right people. Those are the ones that are most likely to want to buy later on. So, and now all of the stuff that I'm talking about here is stuff that we should be doing anyway as business owners. We should have clarity on the offer. We should have a clear pipeline when people first find out about us. What is the easiest way for them to come closer? And then finally, the third thing is what kinds of people do I need to have in my network? Then and only then would I say, okay, you're ready. I bless you. Sign of the cross. Like, let's get you booked on some shows, right? So as you get out and start guesting on shows now, you know what kinds of people do I want to have closer to me? That's going to derive into what kinds of shows do I need to guest on? What's the demographic of listeners? What are the kinds of people that are going to be listening to this that there's a good chance that they're going to want to come closer because I think if they hear this content, they're going to want to take some steps closer to me. And when they do take those steps closer to you, how do you make it so that they can easily come closer to your offer? If you can get them to click a button to sign up for a mailing list or book a call on your calendar, that saves a ton of work and you start to build your audience. So we all have audiences, whether we are a guest on a podcast or we're a podcast host or not. Your audience is comprised of the people that you have as contacts in your phone. They're the people that are friended with you on Facebook, connected with you on LinkedIn, following you on Instagram, anybody that's in your mailing list, anybody that frequents subreddits that you comment and post on. That's all part of your audience, right? So as you cultivate your audience and refine with the kind of people that you best want to have in there, you're going to have a much higher likelihood of being successful as a podcast guest. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to open it up for questions. I know there's a few people on here that have said they want to be a podcast guest. So what comes up for you after hearing that? Do you feel empowered, encouraged, scared? Tina B has her hand raised. What you got, girl?
Thank you. My question is I first of all, thank you for the three main points. Appreciate you for the offer, the path, and network. And my last one is the network question.
Mhm.
And this is where when people say, well, who's your target audience? And when I have worked with such a wide range of people, from financial planners to from men to women to healthcare professionals to nonprofits, advocates for change, leaders for high big nonprofit or high levels corporate, I'm curious what you have to say about that in terms of to get that laser focused clarity of how to speak to that as far as obviously the offer needs to be clear if this is what people will how they will transform and this is how you can connect with me and be with me and spend time together in that guidance. Then it's the how do you pierce the listening of the actual market of people that are curious, hungry, interested in the content.
Yep.
Especially if I've danced with a wide range from institutions of nonprofit to education, academia, and beyond.
Yep. That's a great question. So the ways that you're categorizing people are where they are and what they do, right? So institutional business, that's the where, the financial planning, that kind of stuff, that's the what they do. I would say that beings that you are in the mind space, there's probably a really specific psychographic profile that you work really well with. And so the laser focus comes from how do you describe the way that the person's mind and soul and spirit work? There's something about them that attracts them to you. And it's not because they're in the financial institution or they're in leadership or they're public speakers or anything. It's not anything about, what they do or where they do it from. It's something about the way that their mind interlaces with your mind. It crosses those different categories. So I don't know if that's something, if you know that already, like, well, I know what their bank code is, I know what their disc profile is, I know what their top 5 Clifton strengths are. I don't know. But if you don't know, it'd be a really cool experiment to go back and talk with those people and be like, hey, can I, ask you some really brainy questions about yourself? And if you start to notice that there's a commonality, it's like, okay, there's a way to resonate with those kind of people. There's a way to connect with them in a way that they're going to listen. They're going to come closer. And this is the kind of content they're going to resonate with. It is probably a lifelong process, right? Dr. Donna's been doing
Right.
this
And
for
so when you
50
said
years.
where
Yeah.
they
So
are,
where?
yeah, what
Yeah.
did you mean by where they are? Will you give an example of that? Because what they do is obviously they're a financial planner. What was the where they are? Is that the internal, like the disc, the temperament, that kind of stuff? Or what did you mean by the where they are?
Yeah. So what I mean is, like, are they doing it within a corporate environment or are they doing
Ah,
it themselves, right? So that's the where. So, like, you can have an independent, like, we'll say financial planners, for example. A financial planner could be independent or they could be working at, Edward Jones or JP Morgan or something like that. Big thing, right? That's the where. That's what I meant.
okay. And I also appreciated the third component, which is the who that they are, which is like exploring the commonalities maybe with Myers-Briggs, et cetera,
Yep.
strengths, disc and beyond.
Yeah. There's a
Thank you.
lot of them. Yeah, you're welcome. And I geek out. I probably could have been like a behavioral analyst or an HR consultant in a different timeline, but this is where I'm at. But I found that you can really unpack. Humans are really complex in a beautiful way. Like, everybody is unique, but we all kind of link together with the right people. We're like puzzle pieces. Everything links up, but we don't link up with the wrong people either. And what I've found is just really refining who it is that I need to spend energy on, not because they're dinguses, but just we're not a fit for each other. And it doesn't mean they suck. It doesn't mean I suck. It's just we're not a fit for each other, right? So saying no to those kind of relationships, but it still requires a healthy amount of categorization to know who to focus on. We got time for, I think, one more question, and then we're going to jump into the matchmaking portion of the almost a game show. Dr. Donna's got her hand raised. What you got, girl?
Well, no, I was kind of like taking a different tact on what you had said because what I find for me is to focus on the solution that I provide and then frame it into the listening of the person that I'm addressing. So everything that I do addresses a solution to a specific problem. And if they receive the way I deliver it, I'm well known for being straight, no chaser, unfiltered, all of those other things.
Yep.
And David smiling, thank you. So, first book that I wrote was You Lost Me at Hello, Actionable Principles That Move You Beyond Networking. Why? Because I wanted to help people who are struggling with networking, which is the entry point for sales. My most recent one, Sales is Not About Wait and See. Do you want to get paid now or eventually? And again, that's more straight, no chaser stuff. So if that's not where your head is at, I'm not your girl.
Yep.
you know, and then from that you can go ahead and do the prequel and get into, you know, the personality types and this and that and the other. But you got to get to, is this going to be a person from whom I am going to get a stellar recommendation? Because that is the person that you want to serve. Not everyone is your assignment. And
Mhm.
just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Hey, Fritz,
Yeah.
just 10 seconds on that. Yeah, back to the guesting is just a powerful way to, you know, not just dip your toe into podcasting, because those people that are complicated or think podcasting is complicated and kind of sitting on the fence, the best way to get started in podcasting is actually be a guest, right? Because then you can kind of learn your cadence, you can kind of get your spiel down, so to speak, know your talking points, and also say you're on 10 different podcasts with 10 different hosts. You'll kind of pick and choose, like, oh, I like what that, you know, the way they did that, kind of borrow, you know, bits and pieces of what that other host is doing. And ultimately, you may decide never to launch a podcast. Or if you do a podcast, here's another thing: think Netflix, right? Because you know, when you launched a podcast back in the day, we did like franchise business radio for almost 3 years, every Tuesday religiously at 10 a.m. And there was never a break, and it becomes overwhelming at some point. So think Netflix. Say you launch your podcast. This is season 1, 8 episodes, and you're done. Right? You take your hiatus. Your audience is kind of anticipating and waiting for the next season to come out, right? So, and you can do in bunches. And sometimes, you know, like writing a book, what you need to say can be done in 10 episodes. You may never do another episode. But back to, you know, again, podcast guesting, be a guest for a while. And let, like Fritz was saying, let them do all the heavy lifting, man. To do a podcast, not to, you know, scare people away, but sometimes you can be almost 5 hours all in. I mean, now you can shorten it a lot with technology, but right?
Mhm.
Do a 30-minute podcast. You got to, you know, find the guests, you know, do all the booking, all the logistics, you know, get them, do the interview, do the podcast, do the recording, do the editing, do the post-production, do the distribution. You come on as a guest, you're on for 30 minutes and you're done.
Yep. It's like
So,
eating out at a restaurant. It's great. You don't have to clean up. You just show up, eat, and leave. It's
right.
wonderful.
Exactly.
JJ's like, yes, perfect analogy. Awesome. Well, I'm going to stop the recording here. But for the folks at home that are watching this, if you want to take part in the huddle, this is just one part. The educational part is one part. We do a lot of networking. We match make guests and hosts together. So we'd love to have you go ahead and click the link at the bottom of this page, and you can sign up for the next huddle. So we'll see you next time.